Am I also blurry to you? Because you're a little bit blurry to me.
Yeah. It does look like that, but then it's not gonna be like that throughout. Like network connection is most fine and everything, then.
Yeah.
What's going on here? Okay.
You know, Telecom, the Wi-Fi was down this morning.
The beauty of having a man.
So Etuna and I were both born on the 21st of July, 1985. Same month, same day, same year, and we're both Namibian, but we were born in exile. I was born in Angola and she was born in Zambia, and it was the first time I'm talking about it. I went on holiday with my family. I came back in the beginning of January, and then early Feb I found out that I was pregnant. And something didn't feel right. Like from the beginning, something didn't feel right. And I was telling my partner, I said, babe, I know that I'm pregnant, but I'm not ready to take this test. Just something doesn't feel right.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Conversations with Etuna. We have a very special guest with us here today. Please do introduce yourself, ma'am.
Hi everybody, my name is Namene and I am a friend of Etuna's from Namibia.
I'm excited. I actually didn't think you were going to do this.
Why?
I didn't know you were that spontaneous. You said that you're camera shy, so I was like, Lord, please, I want her on. Please, Lord. And you didn't even hesitate.
For you, look, man, you don't ask for anything. So if you call me and you're like, hey, twin, I was just wondering, of course I'd say yes.
Aww, I love you.
Love you.
So, yeah, you mentioned the twin word. Let's start there.
Yeah.
How can you just explain to our viewers why we call each other twin?
So Etuna and I were both born on the 21st of July, 1985. Same month, same day, same year, and we're both Namibian, but we were born in exile. I was born in Angola and she was born in Zambia, and we just called each other twin because I don't know how we found that out, but when we did find out.
Remember, I was gonna ask you if you actually remember. Should I refresh your memory?
Yes, please.
Okay, so we were on a flight together. I don't know. I think it was our first flight together, and we were in Germany. And we got stuck there. I think something was wrong with the aircraft, and we're told that we couldn't fly out that evening, right? So we were outside. I think, which hotel was it? I can't remember where exactly, but it was early. I think, where was it? In Mainz, I think,
Yeah.
But anyway, so we decided to have breakfast while we're waiting for some news, right? So we were outside, having breakfast and all of that. And then I don't know what happened. I think we're showing each other our passports or something. And then I was like, oh my God, you were born on the 21st of July, 1985. Me too. Look. So that's how we discovered that we are actually twins,
Yeah.
Same, what? Same, no. How do you say it?
Same day, same.
Yeah, no, like, what? Sisters from another mother, or how do they say it?
Sisters from another mister.
Yeah. Anyways, okay, yeah, so that's why we call each other twin.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we are turning 40 next month.
Yeah.
How does that sound like or feel like to you?
For me,
like, how do you feel?
I've never had an issue with growing older. I've always, I'm the youngest in my family, so I was always baby. They always treated me like, when is she going to grow up? But when you hear 40, ooh, it's so grown. It sounds so mature. I love it. I love it for me in my career. Also, the older you are, the more respected you are. So it's great for me. I don't have any. There's a lot of people who dread their birthdays, and they're like, oh, because at a certain age they have these goals and things that they wanted to achieve, and when they feel like they haven't done all that, then they start to get in their feelings. But I love it because I set achievable goals. I want to be.
We've got that in common, and I've realized that a lot of people, or like, let me say, a lot of women, apparently they don't like it when people ask them how old they are, and they have this thing where they say that a woman doesn't say what her age is. And I never got that, But for me, I'm always excited. I've always been excited for my birthdays, and I've always been proud to say how old I am. I don't
Yeah,
know. Like, have you also heard that thing where apparently women don't like to say how old they are?
yeah. But it's just the thing about a lady never reveals her age, It's rude
But
to ask a
why
lady.
though? Where did that come
I don't
from?
I don't know where it came from, but it doesn't apply to us twin.
Yes, definitely doesn't apply to us twins. Yeah. So, anyways, so what has been happening in your life lately? You are a mother now.
Yeah.
How does that feel like?
9th of October 2023. I was 38 years old when I had my first child. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I was like, oh, I'm settled down. I want to have a baby now, and everyone's like, your life is gonna change so much. You love to travel. You're always up and about. You're doing stuff. It's gonna be so different. And I was like, yeah, but I want different. I've
Mm-hmm.
been alone for 37 years, before I got pregnant, and I was like, but this is what I want, and I've always wanted to have a baby. I just a lot of people are like, oh, you can't plan these things. You'll never have enough money. You'll never. But like, people plan things all the time. Why
Mm-hmm.
couldn't I plan my pregnancy, like when I wanted to get pregnant? There was just certain things I wanted in place, like I wanted to have a partner, like a life partner, not just a baby daddy. Like I wanted to be with somebody where we had like the same morals, the same values. We wanted the same things out of life. Somebody who was going to be supportive and like champion me, be like my cheerleader. Just out there saying, "Baby, you're doing good." But I kept finding people who were like, yeah, you're doing good, but I'm doing better than you, or you're doing good for now, but I'm gonna get better. And it was like, I'm not trying to find somebody to compete with or
Mm-hmm.
compete against. I want us to be on the same team, and I found that, and I had my son, and motherhood has been amazing, and it's been less than 2 years, but it's great. It's all I ever wanted, and
Wow. It's actually surprising because I think a lot of people probably thought that you probably didn't want kids just because, usually a person would want kids like at a younger age or whatever, something like that. But then all along you had it planned out. You knew exactly what you wanted, right?
I mean, not all along. I always knew I wanted to have kids, but
Mm-hmm.
it just never happened for me, and I was okay with that because I was like, God's timing is perfect, and I'm just gonna wait. There's nothing wrong with waiting, and there's some people
Yeah.
who are blessed with kids early in life, and some people who don't get the opportunity to have kids. Like it's hard. Like people don't understand. You don't just wake up one day and say, "Oh, I'm going to be pregnant," and then boom, it happens.
Yeah.
It's a real process. But I knew I wanted to more than having a baby, more than having a child. I wanted to have a family, and
Mm.
that's what. Yeah.
So we've kissed a couple of frogs and you have found your Prince Charming.
Girl, my life is not a fairy tale. He is not a Prince Charming. He is just a man, but he's a man who loves me and appreciates me and adores me, and he treats me well, and I love him and I respect him, and I do anything for our family, for the
And
unit.
and respect is like the word when it comes to a man, right? They just like they don't
Yeah.
really say I want you to love me. They like want you to respect them. So how does respect look like for you in your relationship when it
You
comes
know,
to your
I've
man?
I've been with people who I liked, I might have even loved, but I didn't respect them. And
Mm-hmm.
it was so strange because I was like, this isn't going anywhere if I don't respect him. Um, but like respect isn't given, it's earned.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, men, a lot of guys come into your life and they just expect you to off the bat, respect them. And it doesn't work like that. You prove yourself.
Mm-hmm.
They say love grows, so does respect. Your respect for a man can grow. Like when you see him stepping up, when you see him being there for you, when you know that you can count on him, that respect, it you like love can fade, so can, you go through ups and downs, ebbs and flows, but like if you respect your man, I mean, you're 90% of the way there, because um the one thing that they can't tolerate is disrespect. And if from the jump you don't respect him, and there's many reasons to not respect a man. And if
Yeah.
he doesn't treat you right, if he doesn't treat the people around him right, you get those kinds of men who talk bad about other people,
Hmm.
and they're disrespectful towards others, but they demand respect, and it doesn't work that way.
Yeah. What are the examples of like your past relationships now? You said that you didn't respect some of the relationships that you were in, right? Can you just give like some examples of how you didn't respect them? Like, how does that look like? How does disrespect look like? Or how did it look like for you in your relationships? And you knew
Okay.
that you were literally disrespecting them. You know, some people will be like, I'm not disrespecting you. What do you mean? Like you
Yeah.
actually literally knew that you were doing it. So what exactly, or give just a few examples of like random situations that showed you disrespecting your person.
Yeah, the like random examples is there was this one guy who I was seeing, but it wasn't really serious yet, but I couldn't tell if it was going to go anywhere. And one day he called me and he was trying to tell me about his day, but I couldn't care less. I just didn't like, I wasn't interested in anything he had to say. And I sort of just brushed him off, and I was like, damn, if you really care about somebody, you put everything you're doing aside and take the time to actually talk to your person
Yeah.
and say, babe, what happened? What's going on? And I was like, wow, that's not right. You can't be with somebody if you don't even care how their day went, or. So that was one. And there was somebody who I was dating, and I spent a lot of time with my family, and I do a lot of family stuff. And he would be like, "Oh, but you went to see your parents yesterday. What do you mean you're going to see them again?" And I was like, "Whoa,
Mm.
why is it? Why would you try to compete with my family? Like, I make time for you and I to be together, but I also make time for my family. So, what's up with that?" And he was just, he was so rude to me about it. You're not a little girl anymore. You can't keep running home. And I was like, "But I'm not going for help. I just want to go see my family, like spend time with them." And in that moment, I was like, I'm going, because you're not actually giving me a valid reason why I shouldn't. It's one thing if we had plans and I'm brushing you off or I'm making excuses, or this is something that I did before I was with you. This is something I'll do when I'm not with you anymore. This is just something that I do that's part of my life. And I'm not saying you just have to get along with everything that somebody does, but when it's something good and kind hearted and like genuine, just going to see your family and the person you're with is sort of like blocking you from that, just goes back to that people who try to control you and want to see your every movement and watch you and be in control of what you do and who you go and see, and that's ridiculous.
And that's
So
the
I don't.
part where you even went like earlier when you said that you need to earn the respect, right?
Yeah,
It's things like that that seem like it's not something huge, but it actually is. So from
yeah,
that, you obviously automatically you'll be like, I'm not gonna respect this person if this is the
you
way
know
they think and this is the way they want to control me and this is the way, you know?
exactly, because you hear a lot of stories about women who are in abusive relationships,
Yeah.
and it starts with control, and how they always say when they come out of the relationship, they're like, I stopped talking to my family, I stopped talking to my friends, I was isolated, it was only him I could, rely on. And you're like, when you see those red flags early on, I can't respect a man who doesn't even want me to be in contact with my family. That's
Yeah,
so
no,
strange.
that's really crazy. So going back to your child's father, so how did you guys meet and how did you know that okay, this is the person I actually want to have a child with and want to start a family with, like for real, for real?
Oh my gosh, twin, that is so funny. So we met in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
I had uh, just left my job at Air Namibia, and I was on my way to Sandam, to the fifth floor, whatever it is, where the German embassy is, to get a Schengen visa.
Yeah.
And I came down the elevator and I was walking out, and this guy's like, Namene. And I was like, hi, John. He just looked like somebody I knew. So we chatted for a little bit, but I said, no, I had to rush away. And so later on, I don't know if it was that evening or later on in the week, he sent me a message on LinkedIn. And
Mm-hmm.
he was like, "Hey, it's so and so, aka John." I was like, "Hey," I was like, "I'm so sorry. I really thought you were somebody else, you know?" And we started we started chatting after that. But it was a couple of years until we actually like went on a date. And
Oh.
I didn't know like immediately. I just met a guy. Um and then it was so funny because he had this when I finally gave him my number a few years later, um, he had this profile picture that just didn't look like him, but
Mm-hmm.
like didn't look like him like I know him now, but like he wasn't my type in that photo. Like I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
attracted to him. So I prolonged the whole meeting each other because I was like, I don't really like he's not my type, you know? And
Mm-hmm.
then when I finally met him, I was like, that was false advertising. Like that wasn't you. Like this is what I like. Like I don't know what it was, maybe like the flash or something, but he came out like really light skinned, like chocolate. So when I met him, I was like, ooh, if I all this time, and he was like, wow, babe, wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. So you met 2017, 2 years later, you exchanged numbers, you started talking, you met up for the first time. And then was that the meeting now where you were like, or you still spoke for a bit longer, maybe another year or so, or how
We
exactly
started
like did you come to
yeah, we
realize
started
that
dating.
no, this is it?
Yeah, we started dating officially in 2022. So it was quite a long time
Uh,
between when we met and when we actually uh started dating. And that
were
was
you
all on
guys
me.
okay, so but were you guys then friends or like before you actually were you like with the time now from 2017 when you guys started talking and then okay fine you exchange numbers and stuff, was it first a friendship before it
Yeah,
actually turned into anything else?
yes, it was.
How
And
important
yeah,
do you think that is?
girl, it's important to me. I don't everybody's different, but
Yeah.
there be times in our relationship where maybe things aren't going right, and I'd be like, you know what, I miss my friend. And he was just like, "Is that all you think of me?" I was like, "No, but the friendship is what we was the foundation we built this
Mhm.
relationship on, and whatever's going on between us romantically, like I don't want to lose my friend, you know." And so
Oh.
sometimes we just strip all the other stuff away. We're like, as friends, let's talk this out and everything. So it's been great for me. It's been great for us.
What would you tell your 25-year-old self, um, just in general, not even when it comes to relationships or anything like that, right? Compared
Yeah.
to what you know now entering your 40s.
I would tell myself, honey, you have time. You know,
Mm,
when you're younger, um, you always think like, I have to do it now. I've got to get that promotion now. I've got to get that new job now. I want that car now. I want this man now. Everything you want is now. Everything is so because it's so urgent. Like you're young and you just feel like, oh, you're under all this pressure. You need to get married. You need to start a family. You need to have all these things. And it's like you have time. That is the first thing I'm gonna tell myself is you have time. Just slow down. Enjoy your life. Enjoy being young. Enjoy girl, if we could go back to our 20s,
yeah,
oh,
I know. Don't even, yeah. You know what? One thing though, I don't regret anything that I've experienced, as much as obviously some of the choices I made back then were, oh,
yeah,
like, did you really do all of that, right? But then
yeah,
I just still feel like it wouldn't have made me into a person that I am now.
mm,
I'm a person who really values experience. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? So it's like I've experienced so much that I have so much to talk about everything and
yeah,
anything, basically. I wasn't boxed up. I experienced a lot. So it's just, I don't know, it- it's just different. Like, especially now, turning 40, looking back, I just have so much to share, if I'm making sense, you
Yeah,
know? Yeah.
no, definitely.
So, have you always wanted to become a pilot? Was
No,
that always something that you wanted to do? No?
never.
How did you then decide to go that path?
It was an accident.
Oh.
So when I finished high school, I got a temp job in Namibia,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just supposed to be a 3-month contract. And I was studying French at the FNCC because I wanted to go study in Paris. It was always my dream to go study in Paris. Like I don't know what it was. You know, there's just certain things you hear when you're growing up, and you build this idea in your head, and you're like, I'm going, I'm going to do this, and so that was my plan. And I remember I was working in the office one day, and a pilot walked in. And the person he came to see was busy, so I was like, "Can I make you a cup of coffee?" And so I sat and I was chatting with him for a while, and he was like, "No, you seem really interested in flying, but um, you're a woman, so that's not going to happen for you."
What?
Girl, I booked my introductory flight the next day, and I never looked back. It was like a challenge, to try to tell me I can't do something. I'll prove to you that I can. So it was really an accident. I was on my way to Paris. I wanted to study international relations and diplomacy. I was going to go in like the diplomatic route because I was like, I wanted to become an ambassador because I wanted to travel the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I became a pilot. And now I travel the world. So
Yeah.
I kind of got there in the end. But yeah, it wasn't. I never like looked at planes. Was like, oh, one day that's going to be me. And but that's the thing about life.
Mm-hmm.
Something will happen, and you just have to it's just how you handle it. I could have sat there and said, maybe he's right, maybe being a pilot isn't right for me because I'm a woman, and
Yeah. I know. Yeah. Wow. Oh, I didn't
or
know that part.
yeah, or I could have
That's
said,
crazy.
I know, right? So it's when, like, or I could have said, like, I could have gone for the flight and then just been like, maybe this isn't for me.
Yeah.
You get what I'm trying to say? So in life you get opportunities, and there's different things that happen, but you make a choice at the end of the day.
And you enjoy it now, you don't regret it, right? It's like it's now something that you really want to do for the rest of your life, or have some things changed, especially now that you're a mom? Has anything changed when it comes to that?
A lot has changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
I don't
okay.
I don't have the passion and the drive I had for it
Mhm.
before. Um, and it's beyond being a mom. Like, you get to a certain age where you're like, okay, so the time when I met that guy, I was 19 years old. I'm 39 now.
Hmm.
So it's been a while, and I've been thinking about reinventing myself, trying something new. And everyone's like, oh, but you've given up, the last 2 decades to aviation. And I was like, yeah, but you're allowed to start over. You're allowed to recalibrate. You
Yeah.
find new passions in life. You get older, you want different things. Like, um, I don't like the feeling of leaving my son behind.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's 1 month on end. Sometimes it's just a night here, 2 nights there. But um, when you become a mom, your priorities change, and your I don't know. There's something inside you that shifts.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So I love flying. Don't get me wrong. It's just
Mm-hmm.
not quite aligning with my new role.
Mm-hmm.
I don't just want to be Namene the pilot anymore. I'm Namene the mom now. That's number one to me.
And then eventually Namene the wife. Are you
Girl,
is that something that you desire? I know not every woman desires to get married, you know. Not every woman
it's funny.
desires to be a mom. Not every woman
Yeah,
desires this or that. Like it's not something that is
yeah.
obvious, right? So
Yeah.
how do you feel about that?
It's funny too, and I always knew I wanted to be a mom, but I was never really caught up on becoming a wife. I didn't feel like it was a goal to be reached. And everybody's different. Some people are like, until you become a wife, you're not really like you're not respected as a woman. Like when you come into your house, even if it's your little sister or your little cousin, but they're married, they're seen to be more senior than you because they have a husband. You know, those kinds of things. Culture
Mm-hmm.
we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
for me, it was never a goal.
Yeah.
It was never a dream. I didn't dream about my wedding. Like I used to make fun of my mom and be like, I'm gonna have 500 guests at my wedding. 100 of my friends, 100 of his friends, 100, each of us get 100 for our family members, and and then 100 for the press. You know, because you know, I used to make jokes like that. I never. It wasn't a thing. It wasn't a thing. But
Okay,
there was a
so
time.
you've
There
been
was.
engaged before, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right. So that's where I like just kind of shifting into that. You've been engaged before. Um, that I don't know how to even ask this. Is it like that time when you were engaged, were you in a space where you actually visualized being a wife and it changed afterwards, or it was still just a thing of it's not really something that I'm bothered about.
Okay, so when I was engaged, I was 25 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, okay, I was reconnecting there for a second. I was 25 years old, and I wanted to be a mom. You know, and at that age, during that time, 25 was like 15 years ago, it was like important that you get married first before you have a child. And I
Yeah.
wasn't really very stable in my career. I was just about like starting to join like the airline and stuff like that. And the stability of having a husband,
Mm-hmm.
seemed very enticing at the time. Um, but I never envisioned myself being a wife. I didn't think through like what it meant. I never really processed it. It was more like a means to an end. Like I had to become a wife so I could become a mother. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 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 yeah.
And we
Mm-hmm.
we 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 got to the point where like we made each other's families and stuff like that. It was cool, but like it didn't get that far that like he came to officially ask for my hand and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it blew over very simply and easily. But I mean, after that, like I heard rumors that I tried to commit suicide, um, and all of this stuff because of this relationship that didn't work out. And I was like, you obviously don't know me. Like there is, there is no way that a failed relationship is going to cause me to want to harm myself for any reason, for any man. Like calm down, people. Like, but people want you to be devastated. They want there's so many people that like they don't want you to be happy. So when something bad happens, they get excited and it's a very sad part of our society. But for me, it was like that didn't work out, and I moved on. Like um, it's just another failed relationship. It's breakups to makeups. Things like that happen to people all the time. Why would I let one situation like that derail like the plan for my life? Because I have plans for my life. But I was wrong in thinking that being married was going to make me a better mom.
Yeah. Do you think you being kind of, I don't like, your dad was a minister and then he was a vice president and then he became president. Like, do you think that had anything to do with how people um perceived you, or like were you under some sort of pressure, you feel like, being in that position? Did it affect you in any way? Um just in general, do you think that people spoke about you more because you were, you know, the person that you were because of your dad?
Trin, honestly, I can't tell you why people spoke about me and why they wished me ill and everything. Obviously, that was a factor because they do this thing where if you are related to a public official, they think that you're a public figure.
Yeah.
Um, I remember somebody was like, "Oh, these new girls thinking that they're socialites. I mean, they forget about." And I was like, "I was never a socialite. I was a
Mm-hmm.
student, then I was a career woman. Like there was never a time I was in the blogs and at all the clubs and the parties and whatever. That was never me. But people think that because they know your family that they have a right to discuss you,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
you're young, and people are saying these horrible things about you. Like, I just had people walk up to me, you know, randomly and be like, "Oh, you think because you're so and so's daughter you can just," and you're just like, "No, I'm standing in this queue like everybody else. um
Yeah.
if if I could, I would leave, but I'm stuck here. But that doesn't give you the right to confront me about something that I didn't do. Like, I'm just out here trying to live my life like everybody else." But also, I think the biggest problem we have here in Namibia is that we're such a small population. So
Yeah.
society, we all know each other. So
Mm-hmm.
you hear something about somebody, and you might be like, "Oh no, I don't know her brother," but I know Namene. We used to work together at Namibia. So there's always this sense of feeling like people know you. You know, I
Yeah.
I, tr- I tried dating this guy once, and he took me to this party, and he was introducing me to people, and every guy was like, "Oh, but I know him." He was like, "Oh, so all these guys out here, they just know you," like, and he was trying to imply something about me, and I said, "No, no, no, I'm not going to allow that." So I went back. I said, "Come here. How do you know me?" "No, you flew me one day to Ondangwa." I said, "Okay, have you ever seen me outside of the plane?" "No." Went to the next person, and it was, "Oh no, but I know her brother." So I was like, none of them actually know me, and they don't know me in the way
Yeah.
that you're insinuating, and that's disrespectful and it's wrong. But people just feel that they're entitled to, and they're allowed to, and people are entitled to their own opinions. But you know I'm older now, but there was a time that I was young and it hurt. Like, people said,
Mm-hmm. Horrible, mean things. Yeah.
yes, for no reason, like unprovoked. You've never even met me, but you've already decided to make up the story about me.
Do you think people think that you have or had certain privileges again because of, you know, who your dad is or your family background and stuff like that? Do, do you think it was like that?
Yes, twin, I did have privileges. Like, I had the privilege of growing up with my mom and my dad. We
Mm-hmm.
grew up house and everything, but I also have brothers and sisters where, in our African cultures, we don't say half brother, half sister, whatever, but um, my brother, for instance, my dad's son, is not my mom's son. So he had his mom, and he didn't grow up with his mom and dad the way that I did. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I feel like I was privileged in the sense that I had a loving, supportive family, but within my family, it was different. Everybody experienced it differently.
Yeah.
And it's a give and a take. It's you win some, you lose some. There were certain things where, like, for instance, we had a driver who took us to school. That is
Mm-hmm.
an advantage that I
Yeah.
had.
Mm-hmm.
And um, Tate Martin and I became very close because he used to sign my homework book, and he taught me how to make a tie. And he actually did some of the dad things because my dad wasn't around a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Advantage, you have a driver; disadvantage, you don't get to spend any time with your dad, type
Mm-hmm.
of thing. It's
Yeah.
there are some good things, there are some bad things with anything in life. It's like having a celebrity parent. Maybe you get invited to premieres and stuff like that, but then again, you also have people in your private life talking about you when you're just living
Mm-hmm.
your life. Everything has got a good and a bad side.
Yeah. Let's talk friendships now. Friendships now at the age that we are at versus our 20s and early 30s.
Yeah.
Have you seen any change in that at all? The type of circles maybe that you're in? Do you still have friends that you've been friends with ever since high school that you're still close with? Like, how does that look like for you?
My son's godmother, we went to preschool together.
Mm.
So we've known each other for over 35 years. But
Mm-hmm.
we weren't close all 35 years. I went to
Yeah.
flight school. She was studying overseas. Like, there were times when we lost touch with each other, but no bad blood, nothing like that. But I did lose a couple of friendships along the way, and people, again, say hurtful things. And
Yeah.
it could be somebody that you're friends with for like 10, 15 years, and they wake up one day and they're like, "Yeah, you do you think you can just," and they bring up stuff, and you're like, "Why? So you've been feeling like that all along and you just didn't say anything?" Like, just, we're
Mm.
supposed to be friends, and all this time you were harboring all that anger and resentment. And you know were you genuinely my friend? So
Mm.
I cut my circle down a lot, but I always was a bit of a loner. Like I get along with a lot of people. Um, I I I can be in a group and make new friends, easily. But I don't. I try not to open myself up to,
Uh,
because when you bring in you bring in their family and their friends from their side, and then it just becomes this pot, and it's just complicated at some point because one person doesn't talk to the other person.
yeah. I always think that now that you say that you kind of are a loner and stuff, right? It's like with me, I was even thinking the other day, like, wait, am I an introvert or an extrovert, right? Then I realized that, you know what? I used to be an extrovert when I was like drinking because then I want to be all loud and hyped up. I want people around me. I want, you know, life of the
Yeah.
party and all of this stuff. That's
Yes,
like
to
where the
work.
extrovert part of me comes in. But then when I'm but then I'm so okay with being by myself. Like I enjoy just being here by myself. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to listen to this. I don't want like so then I was just trying to figure out like, okay, which is it now? Am I an introvert or an extrovert?
Yeah.
So how does that look like for you?
Twin, I used to go on vacations, solo vacations, like,
Yeah, I know
oh,
that.
girl.
Especially
I,
on your birthday, right?
yes, because so
Yeah.
when I don't know, I won't say when I was younger, but there was a time where I used to have a dinner every year for my birthday.
Mm.
And then at some point, like, my friends and my family didn't mix so much, so I would have two dinners, one with my parents and my siblings, and then one with my friends. And then I started to realize, then I started working, so I would pay for the dinner with my friends and stuff. Then I was like, no, man, why am I spending money on a party when I could just go on a trip? And then I
Mhm.
started going on my annual trips. I think from when I think 30 was the first one. And I've pretty much gone on an annual trip since then. But obviously, in your 20s, you want to party, you want to hang out with your friends and stuff, I guess. So again, it was one of those things where I was going through another phase in life, and then things changed. But I'm a huge loner. I
You
love being
love
by
being
myself.
here.
Oh, honey, like like if I was going on a trip, I would, let's say, go to a place where I know somebody, but half the time I'm by myself. Because, just because you're on holiday doesn't mean people are. So they have to go to work. And they're always like, so worried, like, oh, I feel like I've left you alone the whole day. Girl, I was fine. I did this and I went there. And like, I don't need somebody holding my hand. Like, there's certain people
Mhm.
who can't even sit at a restaurant by themselves. I take myself out all the time. Because we have like, our schedules are so weird. You're not always off when everybody else is off. So sometimes it's a random Tuesday afternoon at 2 and you want to go sit somewhere, but none of your friends are available at work, or, I just go.
Yeah.
I just
Remember
go.
our, remember our, I'm just thinking now about our 33rd birthday
Yeah.
when we went on a double a double date birthday dinner.
But
But that was it was nice. Hey?
it really was. Yeah.
And then we were
It was
like and
who
I
to
remember
celebrate
we were
with.
having discussions that, you know what? Twin when we turn 40 or when we turn 35 or we turn whatever we should do another one or whatever we need to do another like celebration
Yeah.
together but yeah what are you anyways going to be doing on your 40th if you have any plans at all?
Um, no, no plans yet.
Yeah.
It's a month away. I know it's close, but with our schedules at work, things pop up at the last minute, so I'm not quite fixed on making plans, but I was just thinking about going to Etosha.
Hmm.
Because
With your
July is so
family?
full. Yeah, with my new family, with my little family,
Yeah.
not the big. Yeah, but I had a friend of mine. She's also born in July. So she had a son the like July 2023. I had my son October 2023. So last year we went on a trip. we left our boys and we went to Mozambique for a couple of days. And we're talking about it. We're like, okay, next year, July for your 40th, we should go. Like she was like Thailand or Bali or we spoke about it a little bit. And I saw her a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about we don't have Thailand and Bali money. We're mothers. So um, so I don't know. I don't actually want to go far. I just want to go somewhere where it's a little bit warmer than where I'm at right now.
Yeah. You know what's crazy? So I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't had a celebration since I came to the UK, right?
Yeah.
The last time was when I turned 34, just a month before I relocated. And then I was like, you know what? I'm
Can
gonna
I have a
have.
sip of wine?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah.
Getting cold. I realize it's getting cold.
Let's have
That's cool.
let's have it.
It's like I'm drinking iced tea now.
Ah. Yeah, it has gotten cold now. Yeah, so I was
Yeah.
like, you know what? I'm gonna have this big thing. I'm gonna invite even people from Namibia who are able to come, and I planned this whole thing out. I was gonna um like rent out a mansion where it was gonna be like a birthday getaway thing and all of this stuff, right? Along the way, I started inviting God in the situation, and I'm like, all right, Lord, so what's happening? And then he's like, girl, who told you that that's what I have planned for you? You know what I'm saying? So then eventually I had to cancel the whole thing, and people were already planning to buy their tickets and getting their visas and stuff sorted out and stuff. And then I was just like, you know what? Some of these things are not, what was going to be the point of all that? To be
Yeah.
honest, right? Okay, fine, it's all good. The weekend is done. And then what? You spend all this money,
All
everybody's
the money.
gone to where they stay. Nobody's even checking up on you afterwards. Like, I just feel like, yeah, things have just
Yeah.
changed a lot. Like, some of those things are just not worth it anymore. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the part about growing up that people don't get. Your priorities shift.
Yeah.
Your mindset, your finances, your future, like everything looks different. So whereas we were willing to spend money on parties back in our day when we were younger and stuff, it made perfect sense because we didn't have responsibilities and future plans and
I
things
was
like
so
that.
reckless. My goodness. When it came to parties,
Woo!
whoa, 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 whoa. And the saddest part is, right, you are the one doing everything. Yes, I
Hmm.
know it's your party and stuff, but at least can you just come with your drinks, at least just even a six pack, and I can give the rest? But it's like
Yeah.
everybody just
I
shows
did.
up knowing that Etuna is going to provide for everything. We're good. Let's just go have
I
a good time.
twin. I did something I've never done before for my son's baptism.
Yeah.
I hired an event planner, which I've never done before. It was always like we're going to do it ourselves. No, no, no. Oh, twin. So relaxed. I was even late. I was like, oh, it's my son's baptism. Must wait. And we got there at the church, and everything was set up, and we got to the luncheon, and everything was set up, and it was like, because usually like you're there with your cousins, busy setting things up, and then your auntie's in the kitchen cooking, and I just had everything planned out, and I was like, okay, this is what maturity looks like. This is what being a mom looks like. Being a mom means I can spend that little bit of extra money
Hmm.
to have somebody else handle it, where I can just sit down with my son, enjoy it. And then like for his first birthday, I just had uh, my family over,
Yeah.
like all my cousins who have kids and stuff, because he's like the baby of all the cousins. So they all came over, and he's only one. He's just running around.
Hmm.
Everybody was playing and stuff, and I just ordered a couple of platters, his cake, and like some drinks. I had the little takeaway boxes, for the kids. And it was cool. And I was like, here's the thing, twin. We put so much pressure on ourselves
Yeah.
to make things perfect because that's just our personality. We like things to be done right. And I was like, man, I end up being more exhausted afterwards. I don't enjoy it because I'm stressed out. And I was like, okay, I get it now. We're grown. We need to start what do you call it, delegating and keep up
Mm-hmm.
responsibilities and, relaxing now.
Yeah.
It's our time.
Yeah. 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 So, anyways, let's start wrapping it up. But I just have a few more questions. So, if your life was a Netflix series right now, what
Ooh,
would the title of the season be?
undecided.
Is it because there's just so much going on and um you are not sure in which direction to lean towards? Life in general, everything, your choices, is that what it is, or why that title?
Undecided because I'm at the stage in my life where I need to start. Okay, when you're young, you're like, you have that partying phase where life is just a big party. Like, even if you're working, you're still going to the club, and you still have that energy to do
Yeah.
all of the things at once. And then I feel like in your 30s is like, or like late 20s, early 30s is like your building phase,
Yeah.
you know? And then like when you get to this 38, 40 bracket, which is around when I had my son to now, it's more like you're trying to consolidate things. But then you start to realize, okay, the things that I did do 10 years ago, like I said, I started flying 20 years ago, are they still the things that I want now? So you're
Mhm.
sitting with all these decisions that you have to make, like where do you want your life to go? What are your plans for your future? Things like that. And I'm so undecided. I can't put I can't put it in words like how often I stay up at night thinking like what is it that I want?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
are you like being intentional with your planning process though? Are you putting action in your thoughts, or for now it's just things that you're thinking about and not really, you know, acting on
Yeah.
yet?
So twin, in life sometimes happens when you're busy making plans. And I am
Yeah.
such a planner. Like I'm so good at planning. Like if I want something, I will, I do the things that need to be done to get to, I need to get my plans done and everything. And then sometimes something unexpected happens. So I'm sharing this with you. It's the first time I'm talking about it. I went on holiday with my family. I came back in the beginning of January, and then early Feb, I found out that I was pregnant. And something didn't feel right. Like from the beginning, something didn't feel right. I was telling my partner, I said, babe, I know that I'm pregnant, but I'm not ready to take this test. It just something doesn't feel right. So anyway, one day I was like, let me just take the test. Took the test. Pregnancy test was positive, as I knew, but I still didn't feel right. So I went to my doctor and I was like, Doc, I took the test, but something doesn't feel right. And she's like, well, I can't make you take another pregnancy test because you took one and it said you were pregnant, but so I'm going to take you to Pathcare to do some blood tests. Fine, I went and did some blood tests. Everything was fine. And it was a couple of weeks later on. I went for my aviation medical because I now had to be booked off from flying. And when you do your medical, you have to do a urine sample and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I found blood in my urine, and I was like, this doesn't feel good. Like everything about from the beginning, it just didn't feel good. So I went to go see the doctor, and we did the sonar, and he took the first picture. And I had planned it that I was like, as soon as my son turns 1 and he's walking and everything, I'm going to try for a second one.
Yeah.
And we did all the calculations. My son was born on the 9th of October, and this baby was due on the 10th of October. So it
Yeah.
was exactly like, almost exactly like everything was planned out. And then I went to go see my doctor, and I told her, you know what? I found this blood in my urine, and I'm not, something doesn't feel right. So she sent me back to Pathcare for the blood test, and it wasn't looking good. And that was like on the Thursday, the Friday. By the Saturday, I had a miscarriage, and I lost the entire pregnancy. And I was like, because like when you talk about your 40th birthday and everything, in my mind, because I was pregnant so early in the year, I was gonna be like 6 months pregnant. So I wasn't really gonna do anything.
Yeah.
So when I actually had to process that I had a miscarriage, um, now what? I and I've never until I got pregnant in 2023, I'd never been pregnant before. I never had a pregnancy scare.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
my doctors were, but you're 37. Did you do it naturally? Were you on IVF? What doctor did you see? I was like, no, I just decided I wanted to have a baby, and I did. So the second time around, I was like, oh, I just decided to have a baby, and then I got pregnant. But then I lost the baby, and that was the most unexpected outcome for me. But from the beginning to when I just, I always trust my instincts. Something didn't feel right. I didn't tell anybody. When I was pregnant the first time, girl, I told everybody right from the
Yeah.
start. This time around, it doesn't feel right. Something doesn't feel right. Something doesn't feel
Yeah.
right. And it's been like 2 or 3 months now, and like I'm still processing it, and there's still things that happen, and then not that I forget, but like I don't realize how much it's still gonna affect me.
I'm so
And
sorry, twin.
oh, it's okay, twin. I had a loving, supportive partner. Poor guy, man. Twin, the way I used to cry. Oh. I was like, when am I gonna run out of tears? This is too much, you
Yeah.
know.
Mm-hmm.
And it was hard. There was a lot of things going on in my personal life and my professional life, and I was dealing with this pain and this loss, and like people don't talk about things like this.
I know. I'm so
They
I'm so grateful that you are speaking on it, twin. Really, like, I mean, it's not something that, like you're saying, it's not something that people just talk about,
Yeah,
So yeah, it's good that you're bringing this awareness. Really, thank you
yeah,
for being so vulnerable and sharing what you're sharing.
yeah. But twin, it's like I remember when I got pregnant, I got really sick and I was having like a really horrible time. And then everybody told me, "Oh, then when I was pregnant, it was like this, and when I was pregnant, it was like-" but they don't. It's almost like people don't tell you until you're in it.
Yeah,
They never share it. So like, if I don't talk about it, no one's gonna talk to me about it. Then I feel like I'm all alone in this, you know. And the worst part is like afterwards, everybody would be like, "When are you trying for number two? When are you trying for number two?" And oh, you guys should have another one, and all of this stuff. And it was like so painful, and like I just don't
mm,
have um, anybody to talk to about it. And like professionally as pilots, we can't really seek like mental health. Like you can't go see a psychologist and stuff like that because they're gonna take you off the psychiatrist or whatever. They're gonna take you off the plane, and all these
oh,
things. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I actually went to see a Christian counselor,
yeah,
and a lot of the things we spoke about, because she was like, if you see a doctor, like she's like, you went to see a doctor, you went through this whole process, and she helped you physically with your body. It's like if you go and see a psychologist, they'll talk to you, they'll help you with your mind, but she's like, I'm here to help you with your spirit,
yeah,
because there's a lot of things. Um, and one of the things that she said to me that I wanted to share with you is that she's like, why are you holding on to the pain? I said, I can't let go of the pain because I feel like if I let go of the pain, then I'm letting go of my baby.
mm,
And she said, one thing about God is He doesn't want you to carry pain with you
mm,
every day of your life for the rest of your life.
mm-hmm.
He wants you to give Him your pain, like hand it over to Him.
Yeah,
And she's like, live with the memory, not with the pain. And I was like, man, never thought of it that way. Because I was just like, but if I stop feeling this pain, then I'm saying that it's okay, or that I'm saying that I accept it, or, I don't know. You can't,
yeah,
when you're emotional, you can't rationalize things.
mm-hmm.
Um, but I do know that I didn't have any support because I didn't talk to anybody about it.
Yeah,
Um, Nobody at work really knew what happened. I just um, had a note. I wasn't at work for a couple of weeks. Um, just went back like nothing happened.
mm,
Um, my family was like within a month. Okay, this is the funny part. Within a month from that, my dog, my white dog Darcy, the one I loved so much, the one I
yeah,
I found and adopted, whatever, he died. He Girl, I was going through it. Um, they were up barking. I heard them, and then the next morning, my gardener came and he was like knocking, banging on the door, and I'm like, he would never do that. And
mm-hmm.
he called us up. Like, no, he just came in, and And like when I remember when I told my mom or my sister, or the few people who knew that I was pregnant, they reacted more to my dog dying than me having gone through a miscarriage. It was
Mm.
so, I was like, the hell? And then I realized that, but everybody's had a pet. Everybody's lost a pet. Everybody's gone through that feeling of loss, but not everybody's experienced a miscarriage. So it's very hard for
Right.
them to
Relate.
comprehend. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it was a difficult thing, and I think the worst part is like a lot of people go through it, but we're not allowed to talk about it. We it's almost like, oh, but the baby wasn't even born. Like you weren't even that far along. Like people will say all these like really horrible things,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm lucky that it happened the other way around. That I had a baby first and then a miscarriage, because some people
Yeah.
and so I feel blessed that I have my son, and I really do want to try to have another baby. But then the fear is like, what if it happens again? Like, will I survive that pain for a second time? Like God gave me a chance and He helped me get through it the first time.
Yeah.
Am I, so it's all that. This is what I'm saying. Undecided. Like there's so many thoughts, so many
Mm-hmm.
processes,
You
things
still,
that
it's
now.
still, yeah, but twin, it's everything is still way too fresh. You know,
Yeah.
you're still going through the healing process. You know what I'm saying? But then I believe really because we last time when we spoke, you did. That's I don't know whether I don't think you were even pregnant now with the second one at the time. Were you probably when we were talking?
No,
Um,
no.
you weren't yet, but then I know you were saying about how you are planning to have, the second one by the time your son is around two-ish there. Like it's something that you are literally telling me.
Yeah.
So it's still your desire. It's just now that you are obviously gonna go through this process of being scared and being fearful and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But honestly, genuinely, I believe that at some point you are gonna go through that healing process where you are ready to open up again and to just trust again that this time around it's gonna happen for you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but like, don't rush anything. Just allow the process to happen the way it's happening now. Continue. I hope you're still continuing to see the Christian therapist
Sounds.
or whatever. Yeah. So just continue because and obviously just in your own time as well. Just talk to God the way you are
Yeah.
talking to me right now and just express how you're feeling and how you are scared and how you really want to trust him, but the truth is that you are scared. So just it's gonna I know it's gonna happen for you, and I can't wait for that phone call like you did the first time around. You're like,
Yeah.
twin, guess what, I'm pregnant.
And I sent you the pictures. I was huge.
Yeah.
I
So thank
loved
you
it.
for sharing. You know what, um
Right.
can you speak to the woman right now who's listening to this, who is either going through it or who has experienced it and they've just pushed it under the rug and they haven't dealt with it? Like, just
Mhm.
what can you just speak to that woman?
I just want her to know that she isn't alone. I want her to know that it's not fair. It isn't
Yeah.
fair, and you don't know what happened to you, and you can't blame yourself, because that was the one thing I kept doing. I blame myself. Maybe I shouldn't have eaten that thing, or maybe I shouldn't have carried that thing, or because there was a time that I was still at work when I was pregnant. I didn't know I was pregnant yet, and I was doing stuff, and I was like, "Oh, maybe if I hadn't, and maybe if I blamed myself, and it's something that's beyond your control,
Yeah.
um, and you really have to accept that it happened, because the longest time, like I was just like, "Ah, it was so early on. I didn't, all of the, you justify you. It's not fair. That's it. That's all you need to know is it's not fair. It's not your fault, and that you will get through it. Um, but twin, honestly, like there's a lot of things that women are going through
Yeah.
where there's not a safe space for them to talk about it. Like um, you go into like a workplace and there's somebody, one of your colleagues, who's being harassed by somebody, and you don't know. But every time this person around, you kind of see them, and women are being harassed, women are being attacked, women are dealing with loss. We are dealing with abuse. We're dealing with neglect. We're dealing with so much, and there's nowhere we can go to talk about it because they shame you. If you
Mm-hmm.
tell somebody that something happened to you, the first thing they're gonna ask is, "But why were you there?" You know,
Mm-hmm.
they blame you. They make it like it's your fault. And even if you go and you talk to people that you're really close to, they almost like blame the victims.
Yeah.
Some things happen within you, some things happen to you, and life isn't fair, but I think that we should be allowed to talk about things,
Yeah.
because they stop us from even talking about it.
Mm.
And then they'll say, no, in our culture, we don't talk about things like this. And you're
Mm.
sort of like, but what am I supposed to do? Who am I supposed to go to if I can't even?
Mm-hmm.
So everybody's going through something, so just be kind.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that one. It's like I know you kind of say that there's some stuff that you want to talk to me about that you haven't shared yet, but I didn't see
Yeah.
that one coming, you know.
You see this one?
Oh, girl, you caught me completely off guard here, like
Yeah.
completely.
But
But
it was one of
honestly,
those
I
things where I was like,
appreciate it.
I need to share my truth, and I need to be honest and vulnerable. And like you said, sometimes when people see who you are, or who your family is, whatever, they just assume that life is easy for you. Like, people are going through it.
I
It
know.
doesn't matter where in life you are. People are going through it. Some people can't afford to feed their kids this month. Some people are struggling to pay the kids' school fees. Some things are financial. Some things are emotional. Some things are physical. People are sick. People are getting diagnoses every day, having strokes and heart attacks, and like, life is happening to everybody.
I know.
And some people are lucky, and but it doesn't mean that because somebody's pain is less than what you're feeling, that they're not going through something. I was dealing with a lot of things, and there was a death in our street. And one day I woke up and I was like, I can't feel sorry for myself, because at least I'm not going to bury my father tomorrow. This is what this
Yeah,
lady
it's
here
going
is going through.
through.
So it's one of those things where it's like, there's always somebody who's worse off than you, but
Mm-hmm.
you are going through your own pain. So you can only deal for yourself. You're going to be strong for yourself. You can't be strong for everybody else, but you can be kind to them.
Yeah.
It goes a long way.
Whew, that was a lot.
Not swim, but you know what? Life is great.
Yeah. You're blessed, you
Yeah.
know. Maybe the last thing that I just want to touch on is you haven't been on social media for how many years now?
Ooh, honey, I still do scroll. I scroll through the
Yeah.
gram. I check the.
No, what I
I don't.
mean is obviously you are
I
still on it as in, you haven't completely disappeared, but you don't share anything. So
no.
what made you decide that and how does it feel like? How is it different from the time you used to share?
When I used to share two things really. I used to share when I was on vacation. You remember all my vacation pics?
I know, in the
On the
bikini
beaches
and
and stuff.
all that.
Yes. And I used to share pics of me flying, like at work.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I remember there was a day like we flew to like Cape Town and Osaka, and we were doing all that. I was like, oh, four countries, four cities one day. Stuff like that. I used to post stuff like that. It was fun. Um, but then I got a new job, and I wasn't vacationing as much, and
Yeah.
I couldn't post about my stuff at work. So
Yeah.
all the content that I used to share, I don't
Right.
really do it anymore.
Makes
And
sense.
I also just got a little bit more private the more senior my dad got, because there was a lot of people attacking me online through him. They'd like make posts and sort of like tag me, or they'll send me messages
Oh,
and be
people
how
are
to, so
mean.
I was just like, actually, I don't need to prove anything to anyone. I could just, live my life,
So basically, it was a thing of you protecting your peace,
Yeah,
ultimately.
yeah, because Twin, I used to be on beaches in my bikini, and then people would tell me that it's seductive and whoa, and I was like, not really. I mean, if I was in bed in lingerie, it makes, that's a more sexual. I'm not here trying. I'm showing people that you can live your life. And then I was
Mm,
told, yeah, oh, for a big girl, you're so confident. And I was like, I actually don't identify as a big girl.
mm,
This is just who I am,
mm-hmm.
and a lot of people like 10 years later now and they're like, oh, you know what? I was so inspired by your posts and stuff like that. And they were skinny back then. Now they're big and they're like bigger than I was back then when they were calling me a big girl. Hashtag just saying. It used to piss me off because I was like, that's just rude. Why don't you just tell somebody you look nice? Why'd you have to say you look nice for a big girl, Yeah, so I was, I'm being called fat. I'm being called this. I'm being called that. And um, people are like, yeah, post the picture of the guy that you're with. And I was just like, some
So
people,
basically, they were bullying you, basically. You were
yeah.
getting bullied. Yeah.
I didn't back then. We didn't have girl. Back then, we didn't have words like bullying, and people were just making comments. And you know what? You put it on the internet, people are allowed to comment. Like I always say, people are
Yeah,
entitled
yeah,
to
yeah, yeah,
opinions
yeah.
and stuff. But some words, it's like it's so unkind and it's unnecessary. Like why? Don't you have anything better to do than troll people
But
on
it's
social media?
usually people that are going through it and they just, so it's like they're releasing their whatever it is that they're going through onto the next person. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah,
Yeah, if you have to go through that person's life who's commenting all those things, trust me, they're going through it.
yeah. No, but
Anyways, twin, any last
look at you.
words? Any
Um,
last words?
any last words? You know what, twin? Live your life. Run your own race. Do what makes you happy. Because I
Yeah.
found that when I was doing things to try to please other people, life was hard for me because I was like, but I'm unhappy.
Mm-hmm.
And when I finally stopped caring about what other people think, and by other people, I mean even my own family, there were some people I had to cut off because they just would make judgments on everything that I did, and like, oh, you shouldn't do
Mm-hmm.
it, you should do it like this. And I was like, actually, I think I know what I need in my life, but then you start to listen to them because they're older than you and you need to be respectful and, you know, so you don't have to be rude or disrespectful or inconsiderate of other people, but you have to do what's right for you, and only you know that. And you can ask other people for advice, and you can get other people's opinions, but the decision is yours. So live your life. I mean, I'm on like live your best life, honey. We're almost 40.
Yeah, I love you so much. You
I
know
love you
that.
too.
Even
Man.
if we
Thanks for
don't
thinking
talk,
about
like,
me.
mm-hmm. No, I said, like, even if we don't necessarily talk every week or every second week, or we'll go months without talking, the love is always still there, you
The
know?
love is there because it's genuine and it's real,
It's
so
real.
no
It's
time
always
can make.
been real from the beginning.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
hasn't changed. All right. Thank you again for coming on here. I'm sure that
Yeah.
a lot of people are going to be blessed by what you've shared. And thank you for just being open, vulnerable, and just coming as you are, your authentic self. I love that. And I appreciate you. So thank you so much,
Thank
everybody.
you.
See you again next time with my next guest. Or maybe it's going to be me on my solo episodes that I'm going to be sharing lately. So yeah, that's it from us. Mwah. Bye.
Bye, twin.